Hello and welcome to this session. This is Professor Farhat, in which we would look at differences or major differences between the IFRS and US GAAP. The purpose of this session is to help people who are preparing for the CMA exam. Now, in this session, we would look at intangibles. We would look at financial instruments, financial assets, financial liabilities. We will not go in depth. The point is, you are already familiar with either US GAAP and or IFRS. And all what we are doing here is looking at the major differences. So if you get a multiple choice, you can answer that multiple choice question on the exam. And specifically, we'll look at three things: intangible assets. Now, intangible assets, we covered them in the prior session in a sense that when we looked at major differences in the prior session, we looked at development cost. We looked at internally generated items like R&D, and we looked at impairment. But in this session, what I want to show is how do we handle intangibles subsequent to the acquisition, subsequent measurement. We will also look at financial assets, specifically IFRS 9 classification model. Now, the IFRS 9 classification model, if I have to explain this, it may take over an hour. In this session, we would look at the major differences of how US GAAP looks at these financial assets versus IFRS and how they classify them and how it contrasts with the US GAAP. Financial liabilities, also very briefly, we would look at what's considered debt versus equity classification. We would look at compound instrument, where we have an instrument with equity and debt at the same time, and we would look at debt modification, and we will see how the IFRS looks at debt modification. So we would look at each one of those separately, starting with intangible assets, subsequent measurement. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we proceed any further, I have a public announcement about my company, farhatlectures.com.
My AI turns any lecture into a complete study system. You can create summary table, formulas, and example from each lecture. Flashcard builds from the lesson itself. A quiz build on the lesson. And as a bonus, convert any lecture into a portable short audio on the go. So it helps you with the retention. No noise, no generic responses, just clarity based on that specific lecture. Don't just watch, interact, test yourself, and retain the material using Farhat AI. Now go to farhatlectures.com now and see how the AI can help you understand, practice, and retain the material.
So first, US GAAP. What happens if you buy an intangible? Now, we knew if you create an intangible through R&D under US GAAP, it's all expensed. But if you bought an intangible, if you purchase an intangible, you would report it at cost. Then you will amortize the intangible, assuming it has a limited life, and you would reduce it for impairment if impairment did occur. That's one. So cost minus accumulated amortization minus impairment, if any. Then you have to understand under US GAAP, there is no revaluation model, no upward revaluation ever. Once you write it down, if you happen to have that asset impaired, you would write it down and you will never write it again up. So this is what you know about US model. Very boring. You buy it, you amortize it. If it's impaired, you impair it. And remember, we have two types of intangible, limited life and unlimited life. Now, again, if you're studying for the CPA exam, you would have known a lot about intangibles. Now you need to know how IFRS would handle the purchase of an intangible and subsequent measurement. You could obviously you would start at cost and you could keep it at cost just like US GAAP, or you can use the revaluation model. You are allowed to adjust your intangible. You would carry at fair value at revaluation date. Allowed only when an active market exists. And frankly, it's very rare for intangibles. The nature of intangible, they are special in a sense that if you have a patent, that's a special thing. If you have a copyright, that's a special thing. But if there's a market, you are allowed to do that. Think of it as a ratchet. Under US GAAP, the book value clicks down, but never back up. If it could go down for impairment. IFRS, adds a release mechanism. Very rarely, but only when a genuine market price justify the move. Now let's move from intangibles to financial assets. And it's very important because some people might have learned financial asset a long ago, and we have to understand there are certain designations under IFRS that don't exist anymore. Under IFRS, once again, not under US GAAP, under IFRS. Held to maturity, if you see this for an IFRS, it's out. That's the old IAS 39. Available for sale, loans and receivable, those are no longer categories. Now we have three categories driven by business model and the cash flow, which we're going to see what that is, SPPI test. And the three categories are amortized cost, fair value through OCI, other comprehensive income, or fair value through profit and loss. An exam trap will be to show you HTM and NFS under IFRS. It doesn't exist. They do exist under US GAAP for debt securities, which we'll see them, but they are eliminated under IFRS. So those are easy tricks that they can throw at you at the exam. IFRS no longer use these categories. IFRS, amortized cost, fair value through OCI, fair value through profit and loss. So the IFRS 9, the financial asset classification. Once again, one of the most viewed YouTube video is IFRS 9, by the way, but it doesn't matter. What they look at is the business model. What do we do is we ask how the company actually manages the asset. How do they manage the asset? Do they hold the asset until they collect all the interest from it, if there is any interest? Do they hold to collect and they want to sell, or do they have this asset to trade? So they buy it with the intent to profit from the short-term pricing model. Then we have to determine whether that asset or that instrument are cash flow solely payment of principal and interest, SPPI. So in other words, this instrument, what does it look like? It looks like bond. That's what bonds do. They make interest payments, some sort of a debt, and they give you back the principal at the end. So SPPI will not apply to equity because equities don't pay interest and principal. If you buy a stock, you don't get your money back unless you sell it, but the company don't have to buy it back from you. So what could we have under amortized cost? We could have an instrument that hold to collect and passes the SPPI. What are we looking at here? We're looking at bonds, and any gain or losses via effective interest goes to PP&L because we're going to have to account for interest. We have an amortization schedule. It's an amortized cost, and that interest goes, we use the effective method, and the interest goes through P&L. So you're going to hold that instrument. Hold to collect means hold to collect the principal, and it's payment and principal type of instrument, SPPI. Or we could have an instrument hold to collect, and we might sell it, and it's also passes SPPI. Those, any adjustment to them, they go through fair value adjustments, OCI. Changes in OCI, they recycled to P&L on the disposal date. So when you sell that debt, you will take it, you will take any changes that you stored in OCI, and you release the gains or the losses through the profit and loss. And here we're talking about debt only because it's hold to collect and sell. Hold to collect mean it's a debt. Now we have the third category, fair value to profit and loss. This is, what do we park there? Residual instrument that don't fit under amortized cost or fair value through OCI. It fails SPPI, so we don't have a bond. It's held for trading or fair value option. And the fair value option means what? It means you buy the instrument and you want to market the fair value. That's fine. All changes goes through the profit and loss statement. Fair value, TPL, fair value through profit and loss. Again, if this is not making any sense, you want to go to the IFRS 9 or go to my accounting for investments to understand what I'm talking about here. This is giving you an overview. Now, equity instrument, any stocks will default to fair value to profit and loss. with an irrevocable option to use fair value OCI if you want to do that, with no recycling to P&L on disposal. You can have that option as well. Now for US GAAP, we do have, if we have a debt security, we do have this category HTM, we do have this categories available for sale, and we do have trading category. So under US GAAP, we still have those categories, but this is for that instrument only. What drives classification? Well, again, for that instrument, we could have amortized cost, fair value OCI, and fair value to P&L. You could have a debt instrument that you want to trade, but you could not have an equity instrument as amortized cost. So just want to let you know that. What drives classification? Under IFRS, I showed you it's the business model and the cash flow characteristic, whether it's a bond, look-alike or not. Under US GAAP, we would look at management type. Management intent. What's the intent of the management? Do they want to hold the security? Do they want to sell it in the near future? Or do they want it in between, like available for sale? And the security type. And under security type, we could have that. We could have equity. Once you have that, that could be HTM, could be available for sale, could be trading. Well, equity goes through fair value net income. So equity investments, stocks, under IFRS 9, it goes through fair value to profit and loss, and unless you chose OCI with no recycling of the profit and the loss, under US GAAP, equity goes fair value through net income. The credit loss model, we have the expected credit loss model looking forward. We have under US GAAP, we have the current expected credit loss. Again, how do we account if this asset lost value? And it was basically impaired. That's what the credit loss model is. And the irony to remember, held to maturity and available for sale still exists under US GAAP for debt securities, but not for IFRS. So they could confuse you about the terminology. Be careful about that. Financial liabilities. Financial liabilities are what? Like if you have a bond, if you have a loan, you would look at substance over form. That's what you're looking at. What does that mean? It means if you have any unavoidable obligation to deliver cash, it means you have to pay this responsibility in cash, you have a financial liability. It doesn't matter what you call it. Okay? GAAP may classify the same instrument as equity when settlement is conditional. That's not how IFRS says if you are going to settle this obligation in cash, it looks like a debt to us. When you have a compound instrument, what's a compound instrument? You might have a bond that can be converted into stocks, convertible bond. Well, IFRS splits this into a liability component and the residual equity component. GAAP generally a single liability. No bifurcation of conventional convertible. They treat it as one instrument. If you have written puts on your own shares, so if you own stocks and you wrote a put, it means you sold protection against that stock. You would recognize this as a financial liability. It's not equity. Even though the contract looks like it's an equity option, it's not. IFRS consider it debt. And there's no trouble debt restructuring. Under IFRS, any substantial modification to a liability term is treated as retirement of the old liability, extinguishment. And if that's the case, a recognition of a new one with a gain or a loss to profit and loss if that happened. Let's take a look at this multiple choice question from farhatlectures.com. Meridian Capital buys a corporate bond. Its documented business model is to hold the bond to collect the contractual cash flow, which are solely principal and interest. Under current IFRS, the bond is classified and measures at what? Well, it's IFRS. So the first thing, if it's IFRS, we don't have held to maturity anymore under IFRS. Under GAAP, we do. We don't have available for sale. Notice I was able to eliminate 2 answer choices just by knowing held to maturities and available for sale are no longer IFRS categories. What we're left with amortized cost and fair value through profit and loss. If we are going to wait to collect the principal and the interest, how do we treat it? How do we classify it? We amortize the cost of this bond, and any interest goes through the profit and loss, the income statement. So we would report this bond at amortized cost. We don't report it at fair value. It's useless. Why write it up and down if we are going to wait until that bond mature? No reason. Just wait until the bond matures. You're going to get the face value of the bond. Therefore, the category is amortized cost, and it's that. What should you do now? You want to go to Farhat lectures, look at additional resources. If you're taking this quiz on Farhat lectures, you would ask the AI to help you explain the topic, explain the correct and incorrect answer, and create a similar MCQ for you to practice. Whether you are studying for your CMA exam, CPA, accounting student, the best investment you can make is invest in yourself, invest in your career. Stay safe, and God bless.